Hey y'all, welcome back to Homestead. I'm out by my garden today. I showed putting composted chicken manure on everything yesterday. We got a ton of rain. Everything's looking great. So fingers crossed, I think we're good. So let me show you another video today on herbs, natural herbs that you can find out in the wild, or plants, flowers, anything that you may use around the homestead. Look here, look how beautiful this is. So we've talked about violets. That was our very first video. Today we're going to talk about dandelions and these little green leaves that are from purple nettle. So let's check it out. All right, guys, so as you know dandelions, so we're not going to go over that. You can find those in the yard. But the nettle, what is that? Well, you probably see it around your raised beds, in crevices in the yard, anywhere else. This is purple nettle. This is different than stinging nettle. What you can do is, this is actually edible, and what I'm going to do is take the leaves and pull the larger leaves off, and that's what all of this is. Now, we've not washed anything yet, but any large leaf, just take it and pull it off, and we're going to be able to use this. Now, this is not opened up yet. Usually you'll see large purple blooms all over this. I'm just trying to get it because we've got a frost coming Monday night and Tuesday night as well. So I'm trying to harvest these off, these older leaves. That's what I'm after. You can use the root, you can use the stem. I'm just wanting the leaves. What we're going to do is dehydrate today, dehydrate these herbs. And I'm not trying to take everything. My husband come out here and he started pulling it up, and I said, no, don't do that. Usually, guys, I try to come out here and just get rid of all this. It's just weeds to me. But this year, I am learning that we can use this for different things. So I'm just carefully plucking each little leaf. And you'll find this all in your yard, everywhere in your yard. We've got it all around our dog kennel. We've got tons of it. So what I'm going to do is now take this inside, and we're going to wash it off and dehydrate this. So I have rinsed all of my plants here off. What I'm going to do is put them on the dehydrator trays. Now, I told y'all that you need a mat for these herbs. Now, I have fruit leather mats that came with mine. That will work. I've got 2 of those. See, because the grate on the actual dehydrator, the stuff will go through this easily, especially when it's dried. So you need something to hold it in there. You could use this plastic mat. You could use a silicone mat. So I've got 2 of those. And then I have this little fine mesh mat. That will work for my bigger things like the dandelion heads. Now, with dandelions, you can use the leaves. You can use the root. A lot of this stuff you can. I'm just showing you what I'm using today. I have done a video on what books you need. Go back and get those to see how to use this stuff. Some people even make dandelion jelly. We've talked about violets, violet jelly. You could do this for edible uses. You could put this in a salad. You could make a tincture out of this, a salve. You could do so many things, okay? So we're just trying to preserve it. So what I'm going to do, and what you need to do, if you've got the space, I would start separating everything while it's still large, because it's going to shrink to nothing, okay? So on one tray, we're going to have our nettle leaves. Now, this is different than stinging nettle. This is purple nettle. I'm going to just lay the leaves out flat as I can. And this is tedious, y'all. It's very tedious. And put these all over the tray. And I do not want these touching. If you guys can see here, I'm working on 3 trays at once. So I've got my violets starting here. I know those can air dry, but I don't have another tray to put them on. So I'm just going to throw them in the dehydrator with everything else. All right, we've got it. So here's our violets. That's how far those violets went. That was a lot of violets. The nettle went far, and I did not even pick that much, but I stretched it all out. So nettle, and then I've got my dandelion heads, and then more nettle there. So they're all on the little trays, little fruit leather trays, things like that. So we're going to stack these up and dehydrate these. I am going to start at 95 degrees and check these every couple of hours. Okay, guys, it's the next day. So I've got all my herbs here dried from the dehydrator, and I'm going to show you what happened. So these are the violets that I air dried. Remember, we had violets, purple nettle, and dandelions. And I'm going to talk to you guys about that. This is what they look like air dried. They're pretty big. This is what they look like dehydrated for 2 hours at 95 degrees. Very small. So to get that in a jar, what I'm going to do is use my canning funnel. That's the best way I can say to do this without losing a lot of this. So there's that. We have our nettle. I'll take this off. The nettle took, the purple nettle took probably 8 hours to have it like sure enough dry and crispy. And that's what I wanted. That way I can even make a powder, anything like that. Okay, just dry. And then last but not least, our dandelions. Again, probably 8 hours at 95 degrees. That's what I did. They're just dry as a chip. So we're going to put these in jars. So let's start with the violets. And I'm going to open up my jar here. And let me show you. I've got, you can't see in the camera, I've got a little half-pint jar here. And I have an old olive jar. This is a jar of olives that we had that I washed out. Use this to put dehydrated food in. It's fine, okay? At least it's airtight, all right? So it helps. It's better than nothing. I save old jars for stuff like this if I know I'm going to use it within the next year. Also, I told you to save your canning lids. I wash these in the dishwasher if I'm going to reuse them. A trick to get the writing off there, take an Expo marker, scratch over the top, just like you were coloring it in. Or dry erase marker. Do it just like that. And I wrote on these with Sharpie markers. They were water bath, pressure can. And there you go. The majority of it came off. So that way you can turn around and rewrite on it with a Sharpie marker for that. So I'm going to put my funnel in here like that, if y'all can see. And we're going to start putting our herbs in. It's just much easier with this funnel. Especially with this little stuff that's so tiny. Ooh. And guys, if I'm having trouble with this, imagine doing it by hand. Just like that. These trays you have got to have for your dehydrator. This is a fruit leather tray. You've got to have this doing herbs because there's no way that the herbs will not go through the mesh. So there's that one. And that was multiple rounds of violets. That little bit, but it only takes a little for what we're doing, okay? So there's violets. We've done the video on that. Let's do the dandelions next. Let's put them in here. So I'm going to take them off this tray. Now this, I can just drop in there like that. And I've got books here that I'm going to talk to you guys about. You need certain books to understand what to do. I've done this on a video. The video wasn't watched that much, so I'm going to reiterate this. You need to have good standard books that tell you about herbs. That's where I'm getting all this information. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, okay? I am just reading what the books tell you. So let's talk about dandelions, and that's how you preserve them if you want to use them for home uses. So these books, most of these are all by Rosemary Gladstar. Check out Mountain Rose Herb Company. Check her out, okay? So I've got it. This one is Herbs for Long-Lasting Health. This one. All these books kind of have the same thing, but there's a little bit of different stuff in each one. So, and some of it's just verbatim in each book. You may, if you could just get one good book, I would probably do the Herbal Recipes for Vibrant Health. And if you're just a beginner, I would get this one. Her medicinal herbs. It gives you like 20 herbs and everything that she thinks is the best. So, but if you're really wanting to get into this, get these little books as well. They're very cheap. I got them off Amazon. I've done the video on that. Okay, so dandelion. What we've got right here. Dandelion, you can use the leaves, roots, and flowers. You have got to know what is edible with this stuff when you're digging it up. This you've got to have, or either something comparable. Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. It tells you about all of this in here. Let's turn to dandelion and read that. It's got medical problems listed that you can look stuff up, and then the actual plants. And you have to have a plant identifier. I'm going to look back on my phone and tell you guys what I use that's free, and it works great. Okay, a lot of these have, once you download it, well, you can try it free for a week. This one's completely free, and it's great. Let's look up dandelion and see. 141. So we're going to turn right to it. This has got everything from gardenia to I mean, it's great. Okay, it's great. You've got to get something like this. It tells you what's poisonous, what's not. All right, so dandelion. Then you got the whole page talking about the plant. I love encyclopedias, anyways. Okay, so this is known as a weed. Of course, we all know that. Has an astonishing range of health benefits. In Western folk medicine, the leaves, which can be eaten in salad. Now they're talking about the green leaves. I harvested the blossoms. Can be eaten in salads, have long been used as a diuretic. It says Arab physicians in the 11th century was recommended those. The root, which has a shorter history of medicinal use, is good for the liver. That's just what this book's saying, okay? Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you what the book says. So, it says what each part of the plant is good for. Root, the leaf, etc. You can use the blossoms, though, as well. Usually with the blossoms, people will make tea. Key actions, it says diuretic, detoxifying, and bitter. Then the research on it, etc. And then it talks about a decoction and infusion in a juice made from the leaves. So that it gives you here what it's good for, okay? Now, there's tons of more stuff that this stuff can be used for as well. That's just what the encyclopedia says. Now, Rosemary Gladstar says that it's considered one of the, as a diuretic. It affects the kidneys, water elimination, also full of vitamins and minerals, calcium, magnesium, iron, vitamins A and C. So this is going to be a little bit more in-depth on the mineral content. This is going to tell you more about the plant itself and how it's been used in the history and folklore, okay? And I just turned to dandelion in this one little book. So look it up. Look up what's edible and look up all the effects. It's not just known in history as a diuretic, but it's known for other things, okay? So look it up. So now in our herb library, we've got, I took the lid off this. We have, I'm using flowers as well. We've got dried rose petals. We have violets. Put them over here for y'all to see. Roses, violets, dandelion heads. See how this, we're starting to build a home library of herbs and plants. And then next we're going to have purple nettle. So purple nettle is different than stinging nettle. It's totally different. It's kind of the same class, but it's different in uses. I will say every one of these books of Rosemary Gladstar's talks about stinging nettle. There's a difference. I showed you purple nettle to get out of the yard. I'm wanting to say that this one, the Modern Herbal Dispensatory, has just plain nettle in it. But let me look in the back and see. Nettle. Yes, it has plain nettle. $2.72. No, it doesn't. That's it talks about stinging nettle. But it's still kind of the same thing as far as the properties. Stinging nettle, she highly recommends, this book does. It says it's an anti-allergenic, anti-inflammatory, antihistamine, diuretic, kidney tonic, mast cell stabilizer, mineralizer, and tonic. That's just the history that this book has researched on it, okay? If you would like to pick that one up. I've got all these right here. They're all Rosemary Gladstar's, that one, and then the encyclopedia. So, nettle. Again, I've got purple nettle. Let's get that in a jar. All this can be made with teas. Anything that's edible, you can do a tea with. You don't have to do a tonic or a tincture. You don't have to, well, you are making a tonic, but you don't have to go buy alcohol and soak this stuff. You don't have to use it. You don't have to make a poultice. You don't have to make a salve. You can do stuff just like drinking in a tea. So let's get our nettle in here. And again, that's how the leaves turned out. This is all stuff you can get in your backyard. You don't have to go and buy this. Right now, I'm just showing you what's blooming right now in spring. This is a dream using this funnel. And I used the bigger jar for this nettle because I know that my yard is full of it. This helped yesterday. I put this mat on top of the regular dehydrator tray. And I want this, ooh, all in here. If anything, with what I'm doing, I'm probably using way too little. I'm just doing like 1 or 2 leaves per cup of tea. And that's it. So that's it, guys. This is your own homemade type thing here. So there's your purple nettle dried up. A lot of people eat this stuff fresh. You can put this stuff fresh on anything. You can eat dandelions fresh. If you go to 5-star restaurants, you'll see this stuff served to you. That it's all gourmet and just off the wall stuff, but it's all from your backyard, and it's stuff that you can use. If you don't want to ingest any of this, you could do violet and potpourri. You could use rose petals and potpourri. Hubby was walking in. You can look for stuff like this that's growing in your backyard, and talk with your physician, talk with your healthcare provider, and see if any of this definitely would interact with any medicine you're on or anything like that. You need to always check with your doctor, but I'm just showing you what we're getting into with these herbs. So far, roses, dandelions, violets, and nettle. Next thing I have, wherever it went, hold on. For St. Patrick's Day especially, this is our next video. I've not dehydrated it yet, but here's a whole jar of clover. Okay, so that's our next thing. This is white clover. Most recipes you see in these herbal books will talk about red clover, but both is edible for humans, okay? Be very careful. A lot of the plants I looked up yesterday that are blooming on the side of the road are poisonous to humans, so you need a plant identifier, and you need to stick with just kind of basic stuff, okay? But I picked a bunch of clover yesterday, not blossoms, actual leaves. Look up white clover and the uses that it's been discovered and what it has done for people, and see what you think, okay? All right, guys. We'll see you next time on Homestead.